welcome back to another episode of Author Interviews with Jazz and Prose. Today I'm here with the lovely Yasmeen for her book, Keep It Cute. How are you doing today, Yasmeen?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm well. I cannot complain at all. What's today? Is today Thursday? Today's
Today
Thursday.
is
Yeah.
Thursday. It's
And
like it's been
tomorrow's
a long
Friday.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, and tomorrow's Friday, so I'm good. We're glad you stopped by. We love to start with covers. So if you want to go ahead and let us know how you came up with the cover for Keep It Cute, and we'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just kind of testing some ideas, most specifically about the font. But for me to create my girls, which is Jace, Tiana, Lauren-Giselle, I used AI. And no one told me that AI will literally try you when it comes to creating Black women. Because I would come across things where it's like, this is a white woman in blackface. Like this, she don't have none of the features or anything. So it took me about 2 weeks with going back and forth with AI, and I realized that specificity is key. So I literally had to say, a brown skinned woman with this type of edges, this type of eyebrows, this type of nose. Like I had to literally like break it down. And then after just it generating foolishness, it came out with these girls. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, they look exactly how they looked in my imagination.
I
So
love
it was just
that.
it was just perfect. So when it came out, I was just I don't know. Like people always ask me, like, are these real people? I'm like, no, like this is AI. Like I did that. And so once I got that together, I went back and forth with like the placement of, the font and everything. But this is what I landed on and I love it.
I love it as well. It's very cute. I'm first of all, I'm a person that is for technology. For certain things, pictures, I love it. It's so fun to me, like putting in the prompts and then, like you said, actually seeing the picture created and it like matches your vision. I feel like there's nothing like that. Like, oh my God, I do that for fun. I have like so many book covers that I haven't even finished the one book I've been working on for 10 years. So, but it's really fun doing that. I love this cover. And so the subtitle there says, when all else fails, we have our girls. So I'm really interested in getting to the gist of like what this book is about. But before we do that, okay, let's hear a little bit about yourself and how you started your journey as a writer.
Yeah, absolutely. When you said it, you've been working on this book for 10 years, I laughed immediately because this book took me 9 years to put it out there. And I had no intentions of being an author. Just growing up, I was just an avid reader. And so I started writing this book as escapism 9 years ago. I had just turned 30, and 30 is some huge arbitrary number that you think once you turn 30, all of a sudden your life is just magically perfect. And I just remember not connecting with myself in that way. And I was like kind of depressed and sad. So I was just making up these characters as like escapism. And so throughout the years, I would go back and I would affectionately refer to them as my girls. So I'd be like, oh, I wonder what the girls is doing. So at the top of this year, I just kind of had time and literally sitting on my couch. I was like, I want to see what's going on with these girls. And so I went back to it and the book was already done, but I just fleshed it out more, wrote more because I've had grown so much as a person. So once I had the idea, like, okay, I'm gonna see what I could do with this book because I thoroughly enjoyed going back to read it. And like the very next day, I found my editor. And from there, he's just like, send me your manuscript. I wasn't even prepared for that. And I sent it. And from there, it was just the ball was rolling.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I totally relate to that with starting a novel, time passes, and then you have growth from there. And for me, it's just so like, oh my God. When I look back, I was like, what was I like for me? Because my book is a mystery thriller, so it's kind of different. But yeah, but I totally get that. I love how you are like, oh, let me see what my girls are doing because these characters are like, for writers, they're like real people. Like, guys, yeah, they're like real people. So it's so interesting, and it can be, yeah, it can be a form of escapism when you're doing that, because they take on their own things. I always say, like, if you really kind of give your characters a backstory, they will carry the whole plot. Like, they'll tell you, you don't even really have to do much. It's just going to come naturally as to like how
Right.
to move the story forward. So I absolutely love that. Okay, so let's get into Keep It Cute. So I know you said you were gonna read the synopsis. I was gonna say tell us what the book is about, but you can go ahead and read us the synopsis for the book.
I'll read the synopsis, and then we can kind of just like plug in a little bit of the whole. But
Okay.
yeah. So for Keep It Cute, when all else fails, we have our girls. At 29, Jace, Tiana, and Lauren-Giselle are navigating love, success, friendship, and the messiness in between. Jace, a sharp-tongued high school English teacher, is reeling from a brutal breakup that has left her questioning everything, including her own self-worth. Balancing a demanding career with the unpredictabilities of dating is no easy feat, especially when she's still figuring out who she is beyond her last relationship. Tiana, a skilled psychiatrist, is used to managing patients' emotions, but when it comes to her own, she's drowning. Between a girlfriend whose jealousy is suffocating her and a past that refuses to stay buried, Tiana is on the verge of losing control. Lauren-Giselle, an Instagram model who has mastered the art of dating high-profile men, appears to have it all: luxury, attention, and endless opportunities. But beyond the curated photos and exclusive parties, she's searching for something real, something that doesn't come with a price tag or camera flash. Through heartbreak, triumphs, and ever-complicated world of modern dating, these three women rely on each other. No matter what life throws their way, they handle it with grace, style, a few curse words, and just enough tears. Through all the mess, they always keep it cute.
Okay, we love that. We got snaps in here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so what I have some, off script questions that's not up here, but so when I saw this, I was like, okay, because I grew up watching like Girlfriends, Living Single, Sex in the City, all that stuff about friendship. So what made you say, I know you say you had the girls, but what made you write a story specifically about like three characters? Because you kind of have you have all three are the main characters, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you have three and their lives are just kind of, intertwined in the book. So what made you go that route of having like three versus like one kind of main character?
That is a really great question. Like I said, when I started writing this book, I had no outline, no backstory, anything. It was just like I created these characters, and I really kind of drew from like, my own experiences. Like, granted, this is a fictitious story, but drawn from like, just the people around me, people that I knew, and I just kind of mixed and mingled the two. And I don't know why specifically in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have three storylines all at once. And because that's kind of brave, which I'm starting to like realize having three different perspectives.
Yeah.
But I think it helped me because I was able to like offset certain things with other characters. And then I didn't really get fatigued with just this one person and like all her foolishness. Instead, I'm like, let's incorporate three people and three people's foolishness. So it helped me stretch myself a lot and go in a lot of different, a lot of different directions with the characters.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of characters, you guys know if you watch my show, I love characters. So what was your process like for creating Jace, Tiana, and Lauren-Giselle? Like, do they have their own profiles in your computer or your notebook? Or like, I know you say you didn't have an outline, but like, how did you go about? Because I feel like when I read it, I was like, okay, it seems like, especially for like Tiana, for example, she's the opposite of her expertise in her field. She's about to lose control, but she's a psychiatrist helping to manage other people. So what was your process like coming up with their professions, etc.?
You know what? I don't know. I know with Tiana specifically, she was based very loosely on someone that I knew. And I grew up with, my mother was a psychotherapist. And so just knowing like a lot of times people's profession is one mask, but who they are is someone completely different. And all of the women kind of have that. Like Jace, like she's a high school teacher, but Jace is childish. You know, but you wouldn't think those two would go together because you're like, if you think of a teacher, you're like, you have to be, you know, put together and authoritative. And Jace is like childish. And then with Tiana, it's like the fact that she is, you know, a psychiatrist and she deals with mental health issues, but her backstory, you like, girl, you need to be on somebody's couch. And then also with Lauren, like she, like, it's like they're all kind of wearing their own mask in the world, but their true selves come out with each other. And that's where they're helping each other like navigate that. But with Tiana specifically, I just thought it would be so interesting to see the juxtaposition between someone who, you know, is supposed to like help people work through their mental health stuff, but you got your own crisis going on and you're not in therapy and you causing other people to have mental health crisis on their own. So I just thought that was just like a fun way to navigate that. And then also I feel like it kind of builds a lot of the backstory because when you read books, a lot of times I want to know like the why or the how. Because before this, before I even started like back reading like fictitious books, I was like a memoir, like biography, like those types of things. And I was always interested in how people became who they are, the person that we see. So I kind of wanted to take a little bit of that with these stories where like how, like, why are they like this? As opposed to just like, they're like, there's no, like they're three-dimensional characters and I wanted them to be very human.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because sometimes people don't go into, because I don't think there's a right or wrong way to really, you know, write a book. It's art. But I think the fact that you know, pulled from reading the nonfiction books and you're like, I want to apply that to my characters. I was like, oh, okay. And then she said, juxtaposition. I said, okay. Yeah. I love that. I think that is so interesting. So when you were writing the book, did you have a portion where you felt like it was challenging for you? Like you had to roll up your sleeves, like, okay, let me sit down. I'm going to tackle this, either emotionally or just like, as far as like you said, applying the juxtaposition, or if you're using other types of, you know, authors' tools that you could use to apply to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I just went into it as like just creating this world outside of my real life. And I really, because my life was such a mess at that time, I had so many experiences to pull from. And you know, like a certain point in time in your life is like where like all of your friends is like the blind leading the blind. Like I feel like we've all been in that space where like this is the blind leading the blind. And I mean, we've all grown, but it's kind of like I just drew from like real life things. And sometimes life is way more fascinating than fiction. So it was like I was able to grab all the stuff that I was dealing with and put in the book. But like I said, of course, there were moments or times where I'm just like, this is stressing me out. And I just put it to the side. And then, you know, I would go back to it or something would happen. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like something Lauren would do. I can like incorporate that. But I think the hardest part for me was when I got towards the, you know, when I was at the end and I decided, okay, I'm going to try to publish this. I think that's when I got very scared because I'm like, oh my God, it's real. And that's when I started being like kind of self-critical and like nitpicking, like, okay, no, I think it needs to be a comma instead of a semicolon. And like my editor is like, you're trying to talk yourself out of this. And then that's when self-doubt creeps in, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of people do when they get to that part. I, you know, for me, I've published books that are nonfiction, self-help, children's book. The one I've been working on is a plot book. It's the first book with a plot. It's a fiction book. And it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into it, guys, as far as, and you say you did it without an outline. And I'm just like, I wish my brain. So like, do you at least know like the main problem and the ending, like the conflict and or you don't even have that when you start?
Like now that I'm working on like my second book, like the follow up to this, I still don't have much of an outline, but I kind of have an idea of where I want things to go. But for this one, all I knew is these three girls, and the only thing I was like solidified on was their names. Like I was solidified on their names and their professions. As life started happening, that's where I kind of pulled my material. And obviously, like everything in the book didn't happen to me, but it was just like stuff that you would see or stories you would hear. Now, the revolving characters that were in it, most specifically, like the men, girl, their names was interchangeable. I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't sound like a David. He could be, that type of stuff. But for them, it was like, I was just like, these are their names. These are their, this is their roles. This is who they are. And that's the focal point. Everybody else is just like, we can, we can change your name. And I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the fun. I think that's the fun part with coming up. But it's like names are like, they're a thing that's like, no, this is their name. Like, I get it. As far as your methods for getting your ideas onto, I want to say paper, but it could be the computer. That's what I'm going to ask. Are you like a paper? Yeah, or laptop. Okay, that's what I was going to say. Are you like a paper? Because some people say they write it in their notebook, then they go back and type. You say you do what? How do you get your manuscript?
I just I type it, but the process was kind of chaotic. Like I would be at work sometimes and I would come up with an idea and I would literally just type myself an email and email it to myself. Or like sometimes I would just put it in my notes. So a lot of times it was just a whole bunch of like random ideas. And I'm like, oh, okay, I wrote this scene. I can put this in here. So it wasn't like, oh, today this is, and everything's in chronological order. It's like when an idea pops up, I'm just like, okay, let me jot this down, put it in, my little folder. And as I'm writing the story, I'm like, oh, okay, this fits with this idea that I had.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think like for me, because I'm a teacher actually. So when I saw Jace, I was like, oh, and I'm an English
English teacher.
Yeah. And I'm in grad school. So I do a lot of, academic writing, essays, structure, all that kind of stuff. So going from that brain to creative writing is, I'm like, okay, but I'm a perfectionist. Are you a perfectionist as far as like, so because I'm stuck on juxtaposition, okay, because that's what you brought up. Okay, with that, did you think a lot into that of like, okay, how am I going to illustrate that this is her career, but this is how she behaves? Like, for example, with Jace, did you think a lot into that as far as like what the situations you're putting them in, or did it just like?
I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. Like I said, it would kind of be like not necessarily a journal, but it was just like stuff, like I said, stuff was happening and I was just kind of putting together. And I'm not a perfectionist like at all. Like I'm very much like, girl, let's just wing it. We gonna figure this thing out. The thing about me is I do like to be like grounded in something, which allows me to like be a lot more free. Like I don't feel like I'm free if like my home base and all of that is like a mess, but I didn't necessarily go into it like, oh, I want them to be juxtaposed. It was mostly like, as humans, we are all of these things, and it's like the human experience. And I had to tap into a lot of myself because a lot of times, like we put ourselves, like we base our whole identity on like our profession. And then it's just, or you're like, oh, I can't do that. Like I'm a teacher, or I can't do that because I'm this, or, I have to conduct myself a certain way. But I think living in Atlanta, and I don't know how it is in Houston, it's such like everything is juxtaposition because like you will go to the bar and you be taking shots with like a gynecologist and you wouldn't think, you know what I mean? You wouldn't think like, oh, a gynecologist shouldn't be acting like this. But it's like, these are regular people. And also living in like a Black city, it's just like, we're still Black. So it's like, we still like hanging out, you will still be, at the spades table or, at a cute brunch. And I think me seeing that, I was like, these are human experiences. Like, yeah, you're a doctor, or you're an attorney, or you're this thing, but that's just your job. Like, when you clock out of
Mhm.
that, like, you hang out with your friends, like,
Yeah.
you want to have a good time. And so I think I kind of just wanted them to be human. I wanted people to identify with the human. And like, there's going to be parts of the books where you may cringe, but I think it offers a lot of like empathy and grace and understanding, because when you see yourself in a character, you'll be like, oh,
Mhm.
I can't believe she's doing that. But it's like, I've been there, you know, or even if
Mhm.
it's not me, like, oh, she reminds me of my friend Tiana, or that,
Yeah.
oh, that's my sister. Like, that acts like my sister. And I feel like that's how people connect and love characters, because you see yourself, they're recognizable.
Absolutely. That is definitely true. And yeah, I think it is a good reminder. I think reading does support empathy and just, being able to understand that we are not what we do. A profession is one thing, but who we are as humans, that's like totally different when we clock out, baby. Okay. So,
For sure.
yeah. So, did you go the traditional or self-publishing route with the book?
My editor is also a publisher. So
Okay.
I went with him. So we just like collaborate. And I think that's also something very, very important.
Okay.
With like writing and editing, and like whether you're self-publishing or the publishing route, when you collaborate with someone, no matter what it is, you want to make sure that they believe in you as much as you believe in you.
Mhm.
Because if
Yes.
they don't, like, that's when, it's like this
Mhm.
conflict. And it's like with him, like, he totally just like pushed me and was like, you are doing this, like, you are great.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, I've
Yeah.
never, done this before. So just like that encouragement and us bouncing ideas off each other, even when I'm just towards the end and I'm just like, oh, I'm like nitpicking, he's just like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just
Yeah.
need to finish. And sometimes the most beautiful thing that you gain from it is just the gift of completion. And that
Mhm.
made me
Mhm.
feel good. Just being able to complete something that I worked on for 9 years is just like, and it was
Yeah.
birthed out of sadness to
Yeah.
get to a place where it's like, I love this. And I love the person that I became through this journey. I loved,
Mhm.
the girls. And I realized that one thing that I took away from my journey of writing this book is I was using this as escapism, but as writing these characters, they nudged me back to myself, because I realized I
Right.
was running from me. And I'm like, I realized that
Mhm.
these girls are a part of me, and I'm
Mhm.
really proud of them. I'm proud of me.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Writing is very cathartic. It's great. So I totally agree with that. Um, so you went that route with your editor. What is something that you feel like you learned in this whole process that maybe you said this happened? So because you're writing part two, the not the sequel, right?
Mhm.
So what is something you did in the first book that you're like, I'm not doing that again? I learned that I'm not doing it again.
Probably waiting 9 years.
Uh,
Uh, I think probably
yeah.
that, but I think also just like just leaning into it. And I
Mhm.
think that's where the joy is not like letting self-doubt like totally just knock me off my rocker. And it does creep in, because sometimes I feel
Mhm.
like I have like imposter syndrome, because like
Yeah.
going into the book world, I was just an avid book reader. Like, my friends didn't really read. Like, I was just like my
Mhm.
own solo person. So when I got
Yeah.
in the book world, I didn't even know like that none of this even existed. I didn't know what ARC was. I didn't know what DNF meant. I didn't know what
Mhm.
TBR meant. I'm like, what are all these acronyms?
Yeah.
So I fully immersed myself in this, and I feel like I'm like a student, and just the amount of support I've been getting has really helped me with this journey. So I think most importantly, it's just like believing in myself and just knowing that like this is something that I want to do, something that I enjoy doing, and just kind of like drown out the noise. In book two, I must say I'm having a little bit more difficulty in writing it, just
Mhm.
simply because with this book, it was just like, oh, I'm just whatever. But now it's
Yeah.
like I'm a little bit more intentional, and I'm
Mhm.
constantly like trying to like write and edit it and format it all in the same time, as opposed to just like getting my thoughts out. And then just do your first rough draft, and then you go back into it, you plug in the holes and you transition it. And I think that's the part that, like, if I notice something, I'm like, oh, let me fix it right now. And it's just like, no, I have to keep telling myself, like, just get right. And then you got all the time to go back and add and change or whatever. So I think that's something for sure.
Yeah. I think it was Nisa Newton. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, because he fussed at me when he was writing the part 2 for his book. And he was like, it was harder with that book because I will put the little thumbnail, guys, because I put the thumbnail up there. He said that it was harder because he had to, make sure that the stuff in book number 2 kind of matched the stuff in the first book. So he was like, that was the only thing that was kind of difficult, because the first one, of course, is coming from scratch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with that, do you keep like a little notebook or Bible, like, of like certain things that have to be like, this is okay? I said that she had a little brother, so I got to make sure do you have a notebook, like a little file or something like that, or no?
Not necessarily a file, but like sometimes I will, as I'm writing, I'll like go back to my first manuscript, or sometimes I'll just like pull up, my book, and I'll go like skim through it. And I'm like, oh, okay. To kind of make sure it's cohesive, because sometimes, like, even when you watch shows, like everybody was talking about when on and just like that, how like one of the characters' dad died twice or whatever, and it's just
like
making sure that stuff kind of like ties in, that like you're like, you said she was the only child, but this book you realize she grew up with 5 siblings, just like making sure it's cohesive. But I don't necessarily keep a book or a notebook, but now that you said it, I think I probably should.
Especially when you start getting like, a huge like fan base following, because some of them fans be like, I think Tamara, she was like, no, she, like, they were trying to tell her about her characters. She's like, okay. But that's what we want as authors, we want our readers to be like that.
For the characters, for sure.
So you gave a lot of advice a second ago, but do you have any specific advice you want to give to a person who is wanting to write a book, but they're doing it like you started, to escape, but they're like, I don't know if I really want to publish this though? What push would you give them to, say go for it?
I would just first ask them, like, do they want to publish it? Because sometimes you do, but sometimes it's the fear that you're just like, no, it's too raw, it's too, whatever, which is fine. I would just say, like, just write. And as you start writing, you start believing in your book. I would say maybe have like some close people around you, like take a look at it, read it, and make sure you have those friends that are just like raw honest with you, that they're gonna be like, girl, what is this? You know what I mean? Or I really like this, but you could tighten up, in this area. But I would just say, just write. And if you really like want to be a published author, like if you drown out the noise and you really just like ground yourself and ask yourself, like, what do I want to do with this? And if the first thing that comes to mind is, I want to be an author, I want to put this out there, just take all the gumption that you have and just lean into that. And a lot of times people will literally just support you when you show up like you really believe in what you're doing, what you have going on. And a lot of times just being like likable, people will literally like support you just because they like you. And just be around other people who are writing, or ask questions how other people started their journey. Because a lot of times there's a lot of parallels how people started writing books. Like, I know that some people are just like, girls, similar, like, I just made up these characters. I love reading. And I was just like, oh, I wonder if this is something I could do. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. I definitely think, all of that, what you said, having the people who are going to give you the real, because the fans, when they read the book, they gonna leave them reviews. So yeah, it's good to definitely have beta readers and have people to read it before other than your editor, like other
Yeah,
people other than your editor
for sure.
too. Yeah. I was gonna say something. Oh, as far as like now, does your editor slash publisher, do they do a lot of the marketing for you? How has the space been like for you with getting your books out there on social media? Like what avenues do you go to like
Um,
promote?
my editor, he doesn't necessarily do the promotions for me. However,
Mhm.
whenever something comes up, he always like taps me. Like I did this Black Author Summit the beginning
Mhm.
of last month, and he runs it, and he tapped me, and he was just like, would you be a speaker? And I'm just like, I hate public speaking, but I
Mhm.
did it. And like just stuff like that. And honestly, like things have just been coming,
Mhm.
my way. But the way that I've like kind of been marketing myself, and keep in mind, I was someone who would literally get off of social media for 5 months and like
Okay.
just go ghost and live my life. So now that I
Mhm.
immerse myself in this, I'm a lot more active, which was
Mhm.
difficult for me because I'm like, this is a lot of energy coming to me at
Yeah.
once. But literally, I've just reached out to people. I introduce
Mhm.
myself. I'm like, hey, I'm Yasmeen. I'm a first time author. I'm, looking into building community around books. I would love your support. Even if you don't support me by, buying a book, I would still just,
Yeah.
appreciate just talking about books, just building that community. And honestly, when I got in this, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Black women because the way that Black women have showed up for me,
Yes.
like
Yes.
strangers, like it's some people that I've met, like even other indie authors, like I could post something and before it's even all the way uploaded, I get a notification reposted by Kay Powell,
Mhm.
reposted by Nicole
Yeah.
Monroe. And I'm just like, wow. Or just people who like have read my book and they reach out to me and they're like, I felt so connected to these characters. Like I told somebody else about it. And I've just been like putting myself out there, just talking about it. And I've
Mhm.
just kind of grown like a bit of a following. And then me and
Yeah.
another indie author, we connected. Her name is author Nicole Monroe. She writes like romance, a little bit of smut. But
Mhm.
she asked me one time, she was like, do you want to do a live? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we did one live. This is a few months ago. And
Mhm.
since then, this is probably like our sixth live. And what we decided that we wanted to do was bring other indie authors on. So even though we're both indie authors, but we're just like,
Yeah.
even if we have just a little platform to bring other people on. So
Yes.
we'll do a live like once a month. And that's how we started building like community. And that's when, you know, that's kind of how I just started to promote myself. Or like if I see
Yeah.
an event, I'll like reach out like, hey, can I join this event? Can I show up? People have reached out to me to host me for, book club. So I just
Mhm.
decided to
Mhm.
lean into like the yes. And even though I'm like, I don't know, all this is new territory for me. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I leaned into what I do know. And what I do know
Yeah.
is how to be myself. And so I
Right.
just
Right.
leaned
Right.
into that. Like,
Right, right. That's really dope. That's really dope. And that is what it takes. It takes a village. So, yes, we need a lot of people creating podcasts, online, groups and things like that, because that is how we get the word out about our
for sure.
stuff, to build those support centers. So, I love that. I
I mean,
definitely would love to
I'm
say
sorry,
that
go ahead.
again.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I definitely, when I finish my book, I need to come on that live because I cannot wait until I'm
You
done with
have
my book.
to. And we have a
Yeah.
good time. We talk about books, we play games. Like, we just make people relax and feel comfortable, even with your podcast, which thank you so much
Mhm.
for even having me. Like, I saw you had
Absolutely.
posted something, and I was just like, okay, I don't know her, but let me reach out. And as soon as I
Yeah.
did, they're like, yeah, absolutely. This is what you need to do.
Mhm.
Because it could have went a whole different way. You could have just been like, girl, what? Leave me alone. But I
Oh,
haven't
no.
crossed any of that. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't crossed any of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that. I've noticed the same thing too. I'm in a group, if you're not in there, called Black Girls Write on Facebook. I don't know if you're in there, but
I'm
it
not.
is an amazing group. A lot of the people that come on here, that's where they're from. So they are super super supportive. So shout out to them. I just interviewed author Black Queen. I need to respond to her because she was like, "Hey, is my interview ready yet?" So I gotta hurry everything out. It's coming, man. But yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it. I think that I've had the same experience exactly. So I love that. I love that.
It's
Okay.
beautiful because it's scary
Yeah,
stuff out there.
it
And
is.
so
It
for people to support you, it feels amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think once people see, and that's why I was like, okay, I want to start because I know like when I wrote my first book, that was like in 2012. I was like, I wrote and I self-published. I was like, I wrote this book. Okay, I want to go talk about it. And I didn't have any outlets, you know, as a self-published author back then. I'm like, oh my God. So one day I literally started this show like in May. It was just a spur of the moment. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see if like some women want to come on and do a do a live or whatever, and we did it, and that's how it started. And then after that, a lot of authors kept asking me like, hey, do you do like individuals? So just to go from there. So it's definitely a need. So we need more people to do it because the more people, the more exposure that we could all get. So I love that for sure.
And before we even go further, like, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
First off,
Thank
yeah,
you.
like, congratulations for you for even like coming up with the idea and doing it and like uplifting and even like you putting out multiple books and like you said, you did like self-help and other types of books. Usually, like, I like reading books like that, and I love like tapping into people like that because there's always a deeper story there. For somebody to decide to write a self-help is because at one point in time they needed help. So, you know, whatever your journey is, which I don't know what it is, like, I'm proud of you, and I'm sure that you come a long way, and I hope this like takes you further. And when your book comes out, we are definitely connected and we're gonna celebrate.
Yes. Thank you so much. I received that and I love that, guys. I love that. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. And thank everybody for the support. Because we're all in this together, guys. Okay. Yeah. So I think we're at our trivia time. Okay. So this is just a quick little author edition of Would You Rather. Okay, so Yasmeen, we're gonna have you pick a number from 1 to 4.
I'm gonna pick 3.
Okay, and then y'all know, and I changed up the questions, but I don't remember if I changed 3. Let's see. Okay. I did not. This is the same question. Okay, so our classic question that everyone loves to pick: would you rather only type at 3 a.m. or only with a typewriter?
Definitely at 3 a.m. Definitely.
At 3
I don't think I've ever used a typewriter in my life. Like,
really?
I think definitely 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Okay, yeah, that's typically the route that people go because, you know, technology, there's so many tools and things like that we can use in the typewriter. You got to slide the thing, move it over.
Right, grab it and stuff. Like, you know what, I'm not doing this book. Okay, this is stressing me out.
Just give me the notebook and paper, the paper and the pen. Okay. So what is next? I know you mentioned you're working on part 2. I have a part 2 question to that because I think books like yours could definitely be seen like on the big screen. So I want to ask you what is next, and is that like a goal of yours?
Yeah, okay. So definitely book 2, the follow-up to Keep It Cute. It's following the girls in this book, although like they're all the main character, it kind of focused. This one was on Jace. In book 2, the girls obviously are still there, but the focal point is going to be Lauren, and that's going to be like her, most of like her backstory and her journey. Okay. And then the very last book I'll do is going to be Tiana. I'm just, in the early stages of writing part 2 of this, but I'm hoping to release part 2 2026. I would love, and I've heard that a lot, like that they're like your book reads like a script or like you see it. I definitely would love my book to be a television series, either on Netflix or HBO Max. Yeah, that's definitely like my long-term goal would, to see, them like on like an actual series. And a lot of times people, and like, don't kill me, but I've never watched Girlfriends. So I just started watching. I just started watching Girlfriends recently. Like I'm on season 2. And so
Oh,
the reason why is because everybody would be like, your book kind of reminds me of Girlfriends. Like, and obviously, like I know the characters and I watch, a show here and there, but I've never fully just sat and watched it. So I
yeah.
started like watching it and I'm just like, who? So I'm like texting people who watched it. I'm like, can you rewatch it with me so I can have somebody?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I love Girlfriends. I think I started watching it like when I got to high school, and I was just like, oh my God, they were like the vision board for me. Like, oh my God, I can't wait till I get older. I'm gonna have this. So I love Girlfriends. So you just started watching it. Okay. I don't want to quiz you too much, but I was just gonna ask you which character do you feel like you kind of like more, or you might not remember their names. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I think I like them all for various reasons. But the thing that I was not prepared for is the dynamic between Joan and Tony. I'm like,
Yeah.
their friendship is very like toxic, very toxic.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like I like Lynn because Lynn is just very
Yeah.
carefree. She don't really ever know what's going on. Like she's not really grounded
Yeah.
in much. But every once in a while, she'll say something that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I like Maya. Is that her name? Maya?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like Maya. She's really funny. I like the sassiness. Joan reminds me like I like them all. Depends on certain things. Like at some point in time, they all get on my nerves, and at some point in time, I'm like, okay, I like
Yeah.
this, But
Yeah.
I look forward to.
Yeah.
I have a lot to watch. I'm only on season 2, but every night I usually watch about 3 episodes before bed. So I'll probably be
Yeah.
finished with it in I don't know 5 years, but I'm
Yeah.
in a long.
You're gonna love it. It's a really, but I understand that because sometimes, like if I'm writing a book, sometimes I'll watch stuff that's kind of related to that, but then at some point I'm like, okay, I don't need to watch it anymore because I need to focus on getting my stuff out. So it's kind of like a love-hate with that for me. But yeah, I love that. I just, oh my God, yeah, you're gonna love it. I just, when you said that their dynamic between them, it popped in my head. When I don't know if you got to that part. Never mind. It's the skillet thing. If y'all know what I'm talking about, it's the skillet thing. I don't think it's further down, but when you get to the skillet, you remember. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you've seen Girlfriends. But she did her thing. That's Mara.
I love Mara Brockenkill. I love her.
Yeah. She's really good. Okay, well, I think shows like that because there's a void that needs to be filled because they don't want to do a part 2 from another season, which I get, but that would be great. So tell the readers where they can pick up Keep It Cute.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep It Cute is available on Amazon. It's on barsandnoble.com. It's also in this Black indie bookstore called Grassroots, and Roots is spelled ROOTZ.com. Okay. They are a Black-owned indie bookstore. You can also get it from me directly. You can follow me on all my socials. It's t.yasmeen, YASMEEN 86. Send me a message and I'll let you know how to get a signed copy from me directly. And just the bizarre thing is I actually sold out of all of my I really just had like this really crazy month that I literally just like sold out, and my next shipments, they're supposed to be here like the end of next week or whatever, but that's what I'm saying. Like people have just really been showing up. So, support me, support, other indie authors. And I hope you really appreciate, the book because it was very healing, very cathartic, and it means a lot to me. These girls mean a lot to me, and I fell in love with them, and I want, you guys to fall in love with Jace, Tiana, and Lauren-Giselle.
I love that. That's so sweet, guys. I feel like I don't want to say too much more after that because that was like a cute little bow to this interview. Yeah, I love that. Well, we'll definitely have the links in the description, guys, for all of the options that T. Yasmeen just said. We thank you so much for stopping by. You're welcome back anytime. Definitely, when you get the next book out, definitely stop by again. And yeah, so we thank you so much. And then, guys, we thank you for tuning in to this episode of Author Interviews with Jace and Prose, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. See you later.